Hello and welcome to Netflix versus Cinema, the podcast that goes to the cinema every week, sees usually about three things if we can get it, if there's actually three things available to see in the cinema, rates them out of five, stays at home, watches a couple of things on Netflix, rates them out of five, comes together, takes an average, and asks ourselves the question: where was our money better spent this week? Joining me, as always, from the Isle of Wight is Sharon Bollen
Hello.
and Shaun Harris.
Oh yeah.
Hi. So yeah, I think it's a key thing to say because with this podcast, I think even in this last week, I'm not sure if you saw the news that Empire Cinemas have gone into administration, going along with Cineworld Cinemas, who have gone into administration.
I hadn't read that.
Yes,
Uh-oh.
yeah, it's a story. It's a story. I think if you look, we shared it from our Twitter page, from our Netflix via Cinema Twitter page, and one of the things that they complained about on it, and they were like, "Oh, it's streaming. It's because of streaming. These people are just sitting at home streaming. They're not coming to the cinema." And I was like, I was just like, man, it makes what we're talking about a lot more, a lot more
Poignant.
pertinent. Yeah, a lot more poignant. Thank you, Sean. Very good word. A lot more poignant that what we're talking about, because we do this and we have this conversation all the time. And I actually wrote in the tweet that we put out, just of saying, yeah, you could sit down there and say, oh, it's streaming, what are we going to do? But at the same time, cinemas need to do more to encourage people to leave the house. You need to do more to make it, say it's going to be worth it to leave your house and pay us all this money. Because A, it's way too expensive, and B, apart from seeing it on a much bigger screen, the cinema needs to highlight more what its benefit is. But anyway, yes. Anyway, what I was going to say is that we are pertinent, we are important.
We are.
Yes, and hopefully we will get featured on Amazon Prime or Prime Music or
Oh yeah.
Amazon
One of
Music.
those. Yeah, one of those.
Well, yeah, because I'm not sure if you saw that I applied for the thing.
Yeah.
We host a
Yeah.
podcast on the thing called Pinecast, and Pinecast has a link with Amazon Music where they're going to feature some things that have to do with music or it have to do with TV or film or anything like that. And I was like, that's us. Look at this. We are pertinent. If you don't choose us, what are you doing? A cinema just closed. This is what we're talking about. But anyway, if our numbers don't go up, there's not going to be nobody hear me rant, so we can say whatever we want anyway. But let's carry on because we know we have to finish at 7. We have less than an hour to do this week. And talking about things that we can see at the cinema, we have managed to get around to 2 things this cinema. And the cinema champion, the bastion, the last man on the ship when the ship goes down will be Shaun Harris. It will be Shaun Harris.
Yeah. It should have been 3, but I ended up working a bit late because I was going to go and see Insidious, but I didn't. The times didn't sort of match up, so I was hoping to do 3.
It should have been 3 because I was hoping to see Elemental, but then I ended up spending like most of this week on a motorway. So, so unfortunately, Shaun, I couldn't come and give you a hand in the cinema stakes. But tell us, Shaun, tell us what did you see at the cinema this week?
Okay, so I was over on the mainland and I went to the obviously Cineworld. They have unlimited screenings, and
Yep.
this was a secret screening. Now, I think the Cineworld at Port used to be, funny enough, it used to be an Empire cinema. Anyway, the screen this was showing at was, Tosin, it was massive. It was huge. It was like, knock screen 1 on the Isle of Wight into comparison. It must have been the biggest, I reckon. It was like being in one of those big London. Anyway, big theatre, cut a long story short. So that was an unlimited screening, and it was fairly well packed. It wasn't at the end, but so that might give you some insight. But, anyway, and the film was called Joyride, and and the other film that I watched was Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1.
And that's it. Yeah, Part 1. Yeah.
Can we add any more words to this title of this film? Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1: The Unbearable Lightness of Being. So it's kind of like, all right. So okay, we'll go into those. And Sharon, what did you see at home?
I have seen at home a film called Living, starring Bill Nighy.
Living with Bill Nighy, and I saw something on Disney Plus called Kizazi Moto. So, let us kick off with no further ado. Let us kick off with Shaun. You get dealer's choice. What do you want to go with first? Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning Part 1, The Unbearable Lightness of Being, or Joyride?
Let's do Joyride, because that's sort of I can't I try to remember. Okay, so anyway, so I'm in the big cinema, nice lush cinema, nice big seats, big but not too bad a seat.
Yep.
And a big nice curved screen, thinking, oh, I'm in for a treat. This is proper cinema. This is like, and it opens up and this film comes on, and it's called Joyride. Basically, it's done by the guy I think who did Crazy Rich Asians, or because it's a similar sort of cast. And basically, it's a girl's hangover with Asian girls, right? Okay. So basically,
sure,
anyway.
You know, it's crazy, right? I was going to say almost exactly those words because I've seen the trailer, and I was going to say that this just seems to be hangover with East Asian women in China.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, China. So, so basically, what it is, the main character's trying to be, she wants to get a partner in this law firm, and she's got to close a deal with a Chinese businessman. So she needs to go to China. And she's got a best friend goes with her, and she's meeting another friend that she went to college with that is actually a soap opera star in China itself.
Oh yeah.
And her mates and this other, should we say, tomboyish like other lady, so the three of them go off and they meet the other one over there. I have to say, actually, when the film started, the first bit of the sign, it was two of the girls as children, and
yeah.
And the family turn up and they go, oh, it's all white people and that. And then they say, oh, would you like to meet this Korean family? And then this other people, and they've actually adopted a Chinese girl, and they meet two girls sort of wander off in the playground, and this boy comes up and he's going, you're not allowed on the swings, blah, 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 blah. And one of them goes, smack, and just levels him. And then she goes, do you want to be best friends? And it was like, yeah, let's be best friends. And then you get like a little montage of them growing up, getting older.
And I think everything you said so far, I'd like to point out, is in the trailer.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. No, that's what I mean. Yeah, definitely in the trailer. I'm not like going to do too many spoilers.
Yeah.
That's probably, if you've seen the trailer, I should imagine you've probably seen the best bits. But
it had that feel about it. It had that feel like all the jokes are actually in the trailer. And there's nothing else left. And some of the jokes, I have to be honest with you, I like the idea of this film. I like the idea that we're going to do some see different people from different races on the screen and in different sorts of, I like the idea, but I was looking at the trailer going, I don't think this is going to be that good. It feels like they put all the jokes in the trailer and they're not that funny.
That's a lot to do with it, and it's really crude. It's really sexual.
Yeah.
There's a lot of swearing, a lot to do with, well, I don't know. It's like anyway. I won't say things. They have to put things in places that you wouldn't normally put.
That is also in the trailer.
That's in the trailer. Yeah.
It's also
So anyway, they go off. It's a general thing. They go off. They have a good time. They meet loads of people. They get they get drunk. They have a rouse. They get upset. You think, oh yeah, well this is it. They all sort of go their own ways for a little while, and you think, yeah, well they're all going to get back. It's going to be a nice thing at the end. But yeah, I found this. It was really, really funny because through this movie, people were actually started off with I remember this was old couple. They must have been older than me, and you could see them just wander out. They obviously had enough. and then you saw some others. You saw some others get up and go and think, oh, we're not enjoying this. Perhaps it might be, but it was just funny to see, and I thought I can understand why, because I was finding it just really too over the top. I mean, for me, I don't know what it was about this film, but it just was.
Did you say, Shawnee, that this was a secret screening, so you didn't know what you were going to get till you got there?
I didn't know. No, I didn't know what, but I probably would have.
Yeah, that's why I think people walk out, because if they're thinking, I wouldn't pay to see this normally.
People are like, it's going to be a big one. It's going to be.
If it was like Oppenheimer or something like that.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm actually tempted to go there to see Oppenheimer because it was such a lovely screen. But But anyway, back to this film. Yeah, it was really crude. I was hoping it would be it didn't even have moments. It didn't even have moments, right? It didn't have. I suppose the very beginning was the only redeeming quality for me. It was pretty crude, pretty awful, swearing, and there was some scenes that they weren't graphic, but there were some sex scenes which were like, there's, should we say, basketball teams turn up. Oh, anyway, there's loads of it's just like, why would you put that on there? Why do I want to see that? And they'll maybe we're just getting old, but it might be a young person's time. So, yeah, I mean,
yeah. So
it was just funny to see these people getting up and slowly. Different people getting up and exiting the cinema. So that was it. You don't know what you're going to get.
So percentage wise, how let's say you had 100% at the beginning of people watching this film. How many people do you reckon you had? What percentage do you reckon you had at the end when the film finished?
I would say probably 80%. So there's probably
about 20% left.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, 80% stayed to the end. Yeah. So, but I did see where I was sat, there was a couple. They were young, mind you, looked like the university buds, and they were laughing. I was like, "Really? That's funny."
Okay.
So maybe I'm just looking at this the wrong way, because where I was sat was sort of there was a gap, and then there was this couple that come in sat the other side, or like the table bit. But
well, I guess it's one of those. It's one of these things, because like we were talking about this film earlier, and I saw the trailer and I kind of thought, I don't think I'm going to get on with this film, and I was like, I honestly thought, I don't think I'm going to get on with this film. I don't feel it's going to, and it's a pity because there's good people in it, mainly Stephanie Sue. Stephanie Sue, who was in Everything Everywhere All at Once, and also in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. And I like her a lot as a performer. And she's the one who has stuff stuck up somewhere in what looks like a rice field somewhere in the film. And I was just looking at going, you haven't made me want to watch this film. I mean, I think I would. The trailer really did not make me want to watch this film. It did. I mean, they have one bit where they pretend to be K-pop stars or anything like that, and I just kind of thought,
that's it. To try and get through.
Yeah, and this looked like a combination of a couple of different things. Like you said, The Hangover, like doing Hangover in China with East Asian women, number one. And number two, it looked like it would have almost exactly the same plot as, that 80 for Brady film. Because 80 for Brady has almost an exact same scene where they pretend to be Lady Gaga backup dancers to get into a place, and this one they're trying to be K-pop stars. And it just felt a bit tired. It felt a bit tired. It felt like the kind of comedy that you would make in the 80s, and everybody would be like, oh yeah. But now they don't seem to have had anything to add since the 80s. So yeah, unfortunately, everything you said has sort of confirmed all my fears.
Yeah.
So how many stars for Joyride?
I'm trying to find some redeeming qualities about it. I don't know if I can, so sorry cinema, so sorry cinema, but for me personally, it's going to be a 1.
You hear that, Joyride? You're the reason that Empire Cinemas has gone into administration. You and you alone. It is your fault.
It was. I so wish. I tell you, I don't know if Sharon would have, but I would have loved to have seen this with Sharon, because I'm sure we would have looked at each other.
We would have hated it together.
We would look.
We love company.
Both of us would have looked at each other and gone, "Really?"
We would have gone, we would have had a bodies moment where we would have
exactly right. A bodies,
really?
I was just going to mention that, like bodies. That's why I was saying perhaps as be a young person, the young people, they'll probably enjoy it, because I mean the bodies. The two youngsters when he come out and said, "Oh, I think it was too bad," but there you go.
Yeah, I think I've had to come up with come to the conclusion that I've gone to that stage as well, where I'm just kind of like, you know what? Don't think it was for me. It's some things are not made for me, and it's okay. I hope they find enough people who like it to keep cinemas open. But okay, so now we go over to Netflix and Friends, and we are going to talk Disney Plus, and I'm going to talk about a TV show called Kizazi Moto Generation Fire. And it seems to be something in the water. You know how we were talking about Star Wars Visions the other day, Shaun? And we were talking about Star Wars Visions, and it was how it was kind of like Love, Death, and Robots, but in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
And Kizazi Moto follows the same idea in that it is an anthology. It's all these 10 minute short things, but it's all animation houses from Africa. So so it's all African animation houses telling 10-minute sci-fi African stories. And yeah, and so I think because of the way the film thing is and with animation, it's mostly going to be South Africa. That's like the main point. But there's some stories from Kenya. There's one from Nigeria. So this intersects with a lot of things that I love. Africa represented on screen, animation. I'm like, yes, the future. No, so you have all these different ideas of what, like, what a sci-fi future could look like in Africa. So the first one, I think it's called the herder boys, and it's all about these people who are herding cattle. But it's like this also futuristic cattle that the antlers grow, and then these sort of crystals grow off the antlers. But there's these things that they call spirits that sort of attack the cattle. And there's a kid who wants to come up there and he wants to help his sister fight off these things and actually look after the cattle and all that. But it's like but you have these. But it's
like a small boy.
A small boy who's sort of like stowed away with them when they went out there to go sort of graze the cattle and wants to be with them and all that. But one of these people who's herding the cattle is a robot. And it's like the design of it and everything. And there's some things about it that I looked at and I went, yes, that is actually quite African. Like the guy who is the big, who's supposed to be the muscle. He's not particularly
always one of them.
Yeah, he's supposed to be the muscle. But the difference here is that the guy who's supposed to be the muscle is not like ripped with a six-pack. He's big with a pot belly. which I'm kind of like, yes, I did grow up looking like that. People with a pot belly, it was not something to be sort of like, going, oh, like, oh, why aren't you buff? It was like, no, you could probably kick my butt. But so you have all these different things, and some of them take things from like, African myths. Some of them go like into the future. There's one of them about surfing off the coast of like what happens in the future, and they because they're 10 minutes. Sometimes they can be a bit disjointed because you have 10 minutes to tell a story. You're going in there, you're jumping out, you're not really, and you're like, oh, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to connect to. Is it supposed to be just like the visuals? Is it supposed to be the story? Is that supposed to make sense? But as a whole, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed I think some of the stories are great. It's great seeing some of the talent that is in Africa in different areas. There's a Kenyan story. Oh, there's a Kenyan story. And even down to the way the characters are drawn, I really, really like. Like, I remember there was a while back, Sharon, when you reviewed a film called The Broken Hats Gallery.
Yes.
Which stars a woman called Geraldine Viswanathan. And you were praising the fact that she was cast as a lead role because she doesn't have, I'm paraphrasing what you said, but pretty much the body shape that you would expect to have, like, the lead in a romantic comedy to have. And especially because it's animation, bear in mind that it's animation and you can draw whatever body shape you want. The fact that these women look more human, like they have hips. Let me put it that way. They have hips. Yeah. They have hips. And I'm just kind of like this. I am liking some of the factors that come in here, which is kind of Africa. This is the way we see the world. These are the things that we value. And I was like, yes, I am loving it. Not all the stories work, but as this thing existing as a representation of something, as saying, okay, we've had Love, Death, and Robots, we've had Star Wars Visions, and now we're going to have like a whole bunch of African animation shows to show you what there is. I thought it was great. I thought it was brilliant. I would give it a 4 out of 5. And I can't particularly, it's a bit like when you're trying to review a comedy. I don't want to go in there and say, oh, well, yeah, this one happens or that one happens or this. But I just thought that generally speaking, the stories were great. I thought that the animation was great. And I thought that the view of how people saw their own places was cool. Although there are some things that seem to just keep popping up in sci-fi. Whenever you have one of these sort of sci-fi anthologies, it seems like it is written in the stars that one of these must be around a race. There must be a race, because in the future sci-fi stuff, we're all going to be racing. There's always going to be a race, and one of them is built around a race. So 4 out of 5 for Kizazi Moto Generation Fire. Find it on Disney Plus. I would really recommend it. They're only 10 minutes each, and I think there's 10 of them. There's 10 of them in what I hope is the first season, because I want to see more. especially, and yeah, big shout out for Moremi, which is the one that's set in Nigeria and is set around the Kingdom of Ife, which is one of our historical kingdoms that existed before,
before we know what,
before stuff happened to Africa, and they decided that someone showed them and went, these are countries. But anyway, 4 stars for Kizazi Moto Generation Fire. And now let's go back to cinema, and let's go to Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, The Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. So
yes, that's the one. That's the
so
Mission Impossible. Yeah.
So Shaun, you saw this, and I know that we last week when we were talking about Indiana Jones, we kicked off by talking about the baggage we bring to an Indiana Jones movie. And I know, like, for instance, with you, there's a couple of things I know. If a film stands Stanley Tucci, I know you're going to bring baggage to it. If it's a Fast and Furious movie, you're going to bring baggage to it. And also, if it stars Tom Cruise, you are going to bring baggage to it. Especially as you and I are probably seemingly the only people in the world who thought that the last Mission Impossible movie, Fallout, was vastly, vastly overrated.
Yes. I have to, definitely Fallout.
Yeah.
And
So come on, tell me about Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Okay, well, obviously I'm going with a load of baggage for this because you know our thoughts on the other one. Was the what was the one with the helicopters as well? I can't remember.
That was Fallout. Fallout was the one. Fallout was one with the helicopter and Henry Cavill. Man, it's hard saying those two things in a sentence. They both start with H.
Okay, so this is the next installment of the franchise, and basically it's the story. There's this artificial intelligence which has become not quite sentient, but it can work through one of the other people, and so the governments are getting really, really worried about this. So they decide that they're basically what it is. There's 2 bits of a key. So the prologue, there's 2 keys which can open this secret to control the artificial intelligence, control the entity. It's called the entity. I seem to remember. It's called the entity, and so it's like these 2 bits. So it's similar vein some of the time where they change hands. These bits of keys change hands, and they get the key, and then they change back again. And that you've got a pickpocket. He teams up with his normal team. Right, and it's got the car chase, the obligatory car chase. But yeah, right. Okay, no, hey, we're going in a different way here. I thought this car chase, motorbike chase, everybody chasing, was slightly better than what I had seen.
Okay. Now,
for me, go on. I
was gonna say, if you're listening to this for the first time, you might not realize the significance of what just happened. Shaun hates car chases. Shaun thinks car chases are one of the worst things to happen to action cinema in the history of ever. So for Shaun except Baby Driver. So, and that one in Incredibles 2. You like that one in Incredibles 2?
Yes.
So for you to say that you thought it wasn't that bad means that this must have really been pulling out all of the stops.
Well, I mean, let's just say it normally happens. It happens in many car chases, in many films, driving into oncoming traffic. Yeah. So driving into oncoming traffic. And for some, you're going at speed, and if you drive into oncoming traffic, and they'll go, you know what I mean? They weave out.
Yeah.
This one, smack, bang. Yes, thank you. A bit of realism, a bit of something that would happen. I'm like, so I thought, oh, okay, this happened, and yeah, the cars are actually taking the punishment and actually not being, out of sort of when people do that sliding around the corner. They're hitting things and they're smashing things and and the cars, and they got to check. And I thought, wow, someone's really thought about this and not, avoiding every single obstacle. There's a little bit like the Italian Job where there's like steps and stuff. And I'll forgive it. I'm going to forgive this one a little bit. But the film on the whole, I thought they had really, really tried to make this a bit more. Because let's just say there's some deaths. That are like, wow, okay. Ooh. A bit sort of Walking Dead-y type of deaths. It's like, whoa, wow, really.
Okay, so tune in for Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 2, The Son of Ethan Hunt.
The son of Ethan Hunt. Yes. So there was that scene, and I thought, yeah, okay, that works. That's a they went a decent way. Obviously, he does like the leaping from places and leaping from trains, which are a bit wow. But he's Ethan Hunt, and we said like in Indiana Jones films that the train chase,
the train chase,
stuff, and that's forgivable. You know what I mean? Because it is. I guess there is slightly possible that you could, catch people from falling and stuff and everything like that.
You could catch people from falling off people falling off a falling train. You could catch them. Yeah.
Yes, that sort of thing. Yeah. So there's that sort of thing. So this film on the whole, I was mildly surprised with. I have to say,
okay,
it was much better. Maybe because in the past I'd been so disappointed. Perhaps it was, but this film felt to me like they'd made an effort. Looked like it made an effort to not be. Yeah, no, it did. It felt that way. I thought, well, they've given it a little bit more thought, and that oncoming traffic, that's a real big bonus for me. And destroying stuff and things happening, I'm like, that is what would happen in a car chase. I don't care how sort of speed you go, you're not going to go into 4 lanes of oncoming traffic at speed and not hit anything. But obviously, Vin Diesel does, So
I'm just laughing at the fact that that you're kind of like, it seems like they made an effort. Tom Cruise is like, but 2 films ago I was actually on the side of the Burj Khalifa. You're like, no. It's like I struck myself to the outside of a plane. Nope.
Yeah.
I jumped out of a plane and actually did a parachute jump and I filmed it. It was me. That was me. You're like, nope. And then this one, you're like, oh, he crashed the car. You made an effort. Finally, Tom Cruise. You finally made an effort.
You finally made an effort, yeah. So
it's like, I've been trying to kill myself for like 5 films, but you finally made an effort. So how many stars would you give this one?
Okay, well, I'm going to surprise everybody with this one. I really thoroughly enjoyed this film. I had a really good time. So this might be a plus for the cinema, but I'm going to give this one a 4-star.
Good stuff. 4 stars for cinema. All right, because I have been hearing a lot of the chatter about this film has been like, the kind of, and I don't know, because it seems like every time a Mission Impossible movie comes out, one thing I will give the Mission Impossible movies is that Tom Cruise and Christopher McQuarrie, they seem to decide this thing is about crazy action and crazy stunts and about trying to kill Tom Cruise and him refusing to die. That's what they boiled it down to and said, this is what our Mission Impossible movies are going to be about. And so obviously those are the kind of things that they always put them in IMAX because they want you to go see them on a big screen. And I think that they're trying very hard to make something that you want to go and see in the cinema, as opposed to something that you could leave and then go watch at home. So yes. So I'll give them credit for that. But every now and then, I think that what happens is because, like, we're talking about how we're all a bit worried. We're talking about how we're all a bit worried about cinema. We're not sure what's going to happen. The cinema's going to administration. And I feel every now and then, whenever a Mission Impossible movie comes out, and I think it happened a bit with Avatar, there seems to be all these people who are reviewing these, who care about cinema, decide, okay, guys, we just need to tell everybody this is good. We just need to tell everybody this is good because then they'll all go watch it in the cinema and then cinemas will hang around a little bit longer. So just tell everybody it's good. Just go say it's good. And it seems like there's almost like an unspoken rule that everybody just sort of seems to just say, it's good, it's good, it's good, it's good, it's good. Even, and I think it happened with the last one, Fallout, and I was like, am I being crazy? I don't think this is that good. But if Shaun says that it's good, then I know he doesn't have an axe to grind, and I know that he's not getting paid by anybody yet. We will make this podcast big. He's not getting paid by anybody, so I feel like, okay, yeah, Shaun is. Then this gives me actual hope that this might actually be a good one. And I'm not going to walk out of it with a feeling of,
yeah.
Why does everybody say that's good? It's not that good. And I'm guessing it ends on a cliffhanger, so you have to come back next year for the second one.
Yes. What I was going to say, I mean, I don't
tell you that up front.
I've not read any views about it or anything, but have you seen any reviews? You seen much on this?
Yep, I have.
And has it been positive or?
It has been overwhelmingly positive. It's been overwhelmingly positive. But it seems to be around about what you say, 4 stars. And people talk about the action and talk about how the action compared to the other ones is not as slick, and it's a bit more crunching. So you actually feel like the one I read on the Empire was talking about that it feels like you're actually in the action with it. Like they want you to feel every single hit that happens in this film, as opposed to the other ones where it's kind of like, I mean, I guess the worst one was probably Mission Impossible 2, where it was all about Tom Cruise's flowing hair, but never mind. So, okay, 4 stars for Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. Let's move on and get Shaun out of here by 7. So, Sharon, we have Living on Amazon Prime. Tell us about that.
Yes, this is a film starring principally Bill Nighy, and it's quite a simple story. It's more of a thoughtful story. He is one of these commuters. He commutes to London. This is set, I would say, it's post-war, but still sort of austerity-looking Britain. So I would probably place the early 50s. It's before the new look, before things started getting a bit glam. It's when people were still struggling. There's still bomb sites around. People were still feeling the after effects of the war, and there was still rationing, that sort of thing. So there was it's firmly set in that early 50s, pre-austerity Britain. And Bill Nighy is the head of a department in the council, the town hall. He's the head of the works department, and you see him. You see that it's through the lens of this new guy who just starts in the office. It's his first day at work, and they all meet at the train station, but they don't really talk to each other. And there's like a clear hierarchy even when they get on the train. So like there's the senior manager of this office is played by Bill Nighy, and he is held in utter respect. He's in awe. He doesn't travel with them. When he sits in the office, he's almost like silent, and he just sort of like gives them a nod. But they all sort of they're very much his subordinates, and he's very much of that old school. The sort of the pinstripe suit, the hat, carries the umbrella, and when he walks to work, they always leave like a 2-second gap, so they don't all walk in together. He walks ahead, then the next one down walks behind him, but 2 seconds behind, and then the rest of the workers come along. So it's like this quite structured hierarchical society. And then one day he comes home from work and he is given the bombshell by his doctor that he has 6 months to live. And he then basically has this almost like existential crisis where he wants to find out what it means to be alive, and what does he want to do with the next 6 months of his life, the last 6 months of his life. And you see him basically in these series of encounters. The first thing he does is basically he sort of bunks off, and he goes to the seaside and he meets Tom Burke's character, and he basically tells Tom Burke, he says, "You're the only person I've told, but I've basically got 6 months to live." He goes, "Well, hello then, well, let's make it a great 6 months." And so he takes him out on the town, he takes him to the pub, he takes him to not a karaoke, but like to this bar where they end up singing, and to the arcades on the seaside. And he's like going, "Yeah," and he gets him drunk, and it's like, "Yeah, this is living." And then he sort of tries to explore basically what it is he wants to do with his last 6 months. And he has this one conversation with a young woman who works in his office, and everyone thinks, "Oh, hello, he's sort of going to start, reliving his youth by having an affair with a much younger woman." And when she says, "You're not becoming infatuated with me, are you?" And he says, "No, no, 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 it's not like that. When I look at you, I see someone with like a joy for living, this zest for life." And he said, "I had that once, and I want to know where it went and how do I get it back." And he says, what I think of is when you're walking home and you see children playing in the street, they're just like playing, they're free, they're just enjoying it. And then and then their mum comes out and calls them into tea. And he says, and some children, you see them sort of going, they sort of drag themselves in reluctantly because they've just been having a riotous time, just kick about, or British Bulldog or whatever there is, they're playing outside. And they said, then you see some children who are off on themselves, they're sat by the side of the road, they're not doing nothing, they're just waiting for their mum to call them in. And he goes, I don't want to spend my life being that child, the one who's just waiting for my maker to call me back. I want to be the ones who are playing and they're living their life, and then when they get called in, they're like, "Okay, I'll go," but they still have a lot to do. And he has to decide basically what it is he has to give for the rest of his life. And he finds a purpose, but I won't tell you what that is.
Okay.
And so I really liked it.
Can I ask you one thing? Is there anything like in his past that maybe he had post-traumatic stress disorder from the war or
Nothing
anything
like
like
that. Doesn't
Nothing
mention
like that.
his.
So you don't really
Yeah,
know
he's of an age where he probably would have been in the First World War in this film, but it's
in
not
this.
referenced at all. You see one
Right.
little clip where his son had been in the Second World War, and you see him coming home, and he's got
Right.
a sort of not a troubled relationship with his son, but he doesn't want to worry his son, so he doesn't
Right.
actually tell his son and his daughter-in-law that he's ill at all. He doesn't tell them,
What?
and he does share it. Only shares it with a couple of people, literally two people, that he's terminally
Right.
ill. But he
So
does find a purpose.
yeah, I was going to say this film was the big headline thing was about. You said it's starring mostly Bill Nye. He was nominated for the Best Actor Oscar, and that was a big thing about this film that everybody said, "Oh my God, Bill Nye, this is amazing." And I remember when this film was released for a short while in cinemas, there was a big deal made about it, and it's actually a remake of a Japanese film.
Yeah,
A Kurosawa film called
Yeah.
Ikuru. And
Ikuru.
yeah, yeah, and I was wondering, Sean, because I know you're a big
Ikuru. Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
So have you seen Ikuru?
Yes, I have. Yes, and
All right,
it
cool.
it's really good. He's like funny enough, he looks similar to you. He's bald headed. Yeah. So all shaved, shall we say? So yeah. Actually, the character who plays him was the guy who played the head of the Seven Samurai.
Seven Samurai, yeah. But I can't remember
Okay.
his name. I can't remember his name, but I know he worked a lot with Kurosawa, yeah.
So yeah,
So
that was a
the
good.
titles it has that, based on a Japanese novel.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can see that sort of quiet dignity about someone who wants to sort of face into their life on their own terms, really. But I liked it. I thought it's easy for this sort of film to become sentimental, and I think they managed to avoid that very neatly. The way they did it was just, I thought, was masterly, because you're thinking, if you're going to have a sort of story effectively about death, then that's the way to do it. And so I thought they did it, handled it really well, sensitively, but really, really well.
Yeah.
Without sort of sentimentality, but you get to feel that sort of that quiet dignity of someone who wants to end their life. Not they're going to hasten their end. They're not going to sort of contemplate ending their life, but facing their last days. We're thinking, right, I want to find a purpose for my last days, and when he's found it, that sort of gives him this sort of energy and purpose. So I thought it was done really well. And the secondary characters, like, Tom Burke's only in it for a while, but he sort of breezes in, isn't he? He's one of these like bon viveurs almost, I think. You can see him turning into Brian Blessed maybe in 30 years' time. But he has this sort of like, this sort of less death for life, doesn't he? And he inhabited that sort of character where he's like, Dylan Thomas-esque, we know how to end our lives. We're going to party till, we drop. And it seems like saying, maybe that's not my way, but thank you for the journey. So I thought there were some interesting sort of touches in it, and I liked it a lot.
Right. So how many stars would we give Living?
Yeah, I'd give it a 4. I think it was sensitively done, well done, convincingly played by Bill Nye. You believe in him, because sometimes he can go into certain
shtick.
sort of, yeah.
I mean, the film.
Bill Nye can have a shtick. Yeah.
Yeah, he's underplaying this. I think underplaying this works for this role.
Have you ever seen The Lighthouse Golem? Do you remember that? The Lighthouse Golem.
Yes,
The Limehouse Golem. That film sucked.
Yeah. Yeah, because he has done some really. He does this sort of quiet man of desperation, of this sort of with hidden desperation, doesn't he, quite well? But he can also do the sort of his Love Actually sort of Bill Nighy turn.
Yeah,
and I think this is a bit like Emma Thompson. She can do drama really well, but then sometimes she'll do this turn that is so big and broad. You're thinking, are you doing the panto version of this film, or have I missed something?
Yes.
And so I think he can go into panto land if he's not careful. But in this, he played it spot on.
Yes, okay. Good broad Emma Thompson, Matilda the musical. Bad broad Emma Thompson, that Wham film, Last Christmas. Or the film that was sold as a Wham film, but had nothing to do with Wham whatsoever.
And there's that one I saw where about the neighbours. She played Lily James's mum. What's
Love Got to Do with It? Yeah, What's Love Got to Do with It? Yeah.
She was in full panto mode in that one.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, don't do that. Take it down and not start.
I think full panto mode is, especially if they're doing an accent, can go wrong. can't go wrong. And I think Bill Nye does have like certain, you know how they have these things like there's like this YouTube videos you find of like, you know, things an actor does in every film, and it's like Bruce Willis looking confused, Harrison Ford pointing, Brad Pitt eating, and
Roger Moore winking his eyebrows.
Roger Moore raising the eyebrow. that kind of, and I think that with Bill Nye, there's always sometimes this kind of like you know, aged rocker
there is
thing.
that
Like,
slightly...
it's like, I used to do a lot of cocaine back in the day. Kind of like that you get with Bill, and he can.
And there's sometimes you can go down that whole slightly twinkly with a younger woman, where he's a bit like, you know, hey, I'm an older man, but I've still got it. And it's like, no, don't do that, creepy Bill Nye. And so he even though there was like this vibe where at one point you see him spending a lot of time with a younger woman who used to work for him. They navigate that well, because I'm thinking, don't turn this into something creepy, because that would just be like, wrong.
I'm thinking of a film called Wild Target with Bill Nye, Rupert Grint, and Emily Blunt, and you have essentially that with Bill Nye and Emily Blunt, and it's a bit. But I mean, okay, I mean, live your life, but so anyway, so that's 4 stars for living. Now I know you guys are Shaun. You have that fist thing where you want to say something.
I'm going to head off. No, I'm going to head off in a minute. But yeah, carry on.
I was just going to say, I know you guys are on tenterhooks. I know it's so hard to say this week, but who do you think has won, Netflix or cinema?
Well, it's got to be Netflix, like by zillions this week, I think.
Netflix. On an average, Netflix has 4 stars this week, and this week cinema only has 2.5. Surprisingly, because
Joyride took a bazooka to cinema this week, didn't it?
Joyride took a bazooka, which Tom Cruise probably would have jumped on and, like, you know, and ridden.
He would have caught it out of the air and just diverted it. Yeah,
exactly. And I think, and to be honest with you, looking at the star rating of Mission Impossible this week, I think Tom Cruise did do that, and even that was not enough to save cinema this week. So this week, we've had a better time at home than we have done at cinema. So until next week, when I might finally get to see Elemental, it's a goodbye from me.
It's a goodbye from me.
And a goodbye from me.
Thank you very much for joining us. Get in touch with us on something. Netflix Cinema on all social media things. Bye.
Bye.